Hello, this is Bill Steffen. What a stretch of weather we are having here. Day after day of sunshine, warm temperatures, and not too terribly humid. Dew points have remained in the 50s here with winds out of the east. We haven't had that Gulf moisture. That means not a lot in the way of rain for us here, but it does mean that we cool off a little bit at night, and it's not quite so oppressive when temperatures reach the 80s and dew points are still in the 50s. Well, a quick hi once again to our Ottawa News Network viewers. Thanks so much for hopping on board. No northern lights tonight. That's our first graphic. I wanted to show you the KP index, which is a determination of whether we're going to see the northern lights or not. We like that number to be up above 6 like it was way back on Sunday night. I've got it in the orange color right there. That's when we got to see the northern lights down as far as the Grand Rapids area here. And you see it hung in there at yellow. At yellow, you can get kind of a faint green off to the northern horizon. But boy, when it's down around 2 and 3, like we've been here overnight tonight, nope, we're not going to see the northern lights. But in the meantime, we got the moon coming up a little bit later on. We've got planet Jupiter is really bright right now. Venus is going to work its way into the evening sky once again eventually. So there's a lot going on that we could talk about as well. All right, let's move on and talk about Northern Hemisphere, or first of all, chance of fog. I want to point this out. We've had this the past couple of mornings. We've had a little bit more humid air coming in off of Lake Huron with a general east to northeast wind down Saginaw Bay and then out. So those counties north and east of Grand Rapids have tended to see a little bit of patchy fog in the morning. And if you see that, it won't last long at all. It should dissipate not too far, maybe an hour after sunrise. But if you're in Montcalm, Mecosta, Isabella, or Gratiot counties, you probably have the best chance of picking up a little bit of light fog here overnight tonight. All right, let's take a look right now at the ice shield up in the Arctic. I want to point this out. There has been some talk over the past couple of decades about the ice cap disappearing, mainly in the summer. But you can see it's still there. It's not quite as big an ice cap as it was back in the late 70s, perhaps, but there's still plenty of ice up there at the North Pole. That's what's in the yellow color there. In the white, you have snow, and you can see the permanent snow and ice over Greenland. There is snow starting to fall now in northern Alaska. I checked some of the pictures up there, and some of the mountains have snow on the top already. And you can see a little bit of snow starting to form on the ground up in Russia, top of the picture there. We keep an eye on that. Very often we look at the amount of snow that's on the ground in Siberia in late October, early November. And sometimes that's a clue as to what the winter is going to be like here in the Great Lakes. We get a lot of snow early in Siberia. And sometimes that means that we're going to see a good winter here in West Michigan. And by good, I mean lots of snow and cold air. All right, let's stop talking about snow for a little bit and talk about high temperatures on Tuesday. Leading the pack was Fremont. With a northeast wind, they get a little bit of downslope warming there by a degree or two, and the air was missing Lake Huron, so they were warmer than areas to the south. You can see Grand Rapids was 81, so there was a 4-degree difference between Fremont and Grand Rapids, with Fremont being the warmer location. Coldwater to the far south also was missing Lake Huron, and they reached 84. Big Rapids at 83. Howlands Airport 82. Same with Marshall. Grand Rapids tied Kalamazoo and Battle Creek at 81. South Haven Pier was 73, and so was the Muskegon Pier, and their high temperature occurred at 8 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes along the lakeshore in summertime, you get high temperatures occurring at odd times. Let's say 10 or 11 in the morning before the lake breeze kicks in, or 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening when the lake breeze dies off and we start getting a land breeze and the warmer air works its way toward the shore. Once again, coolest spot around was Mackinac Island with an east-southeast wind coming down pretty much the length of Lake Huron. They saw their temperatures in the 60s for the second day in a row. Okay, a little bit on the sunrise and sunset time for us. The daylight continues to shrink. We're down to 12 hours and 24 minutes, losing daylight at the rate of just under 3 minutes per day. Average high and low hanging in there at 74 and 53. The record high temperature for today, the 17th, is 92. The record low temperature is 37, set in 1902 and 1959. We're going to take a little short break. After this, one more message here. This is the Lakeshore forecast for Wednesday. Winds east for most of us for most of the day, and they should be light, about 5 miles an hour. At the lake, they will become variable and may turn onshore. Water temperatures are all out at the buoys right now, and they're all very similar in the upper 60s. Reed's Lake, 76 in the evening, and late afternoon, they bounced up to 80. Now, the wind was almost dead calm, and so that top couple of inches of water really could warm up. And so that was pretty amazing. Temperature was 70 in the mornings, 80 in the afternoon, and falls back to 76 here in the evening. Average wind speed the last 9 days, only 4 miles an hour. So this has certainly been a calm weather pattern over the Great Lakes region. Okay, now we're going to take time out to thank one of our sponsors, Complete Care Concierge.
Need a fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service? Complete Care Concierge has you covered. Serving all of West Michigan, we offer one-time, daily, weekly, and bi-weekly cleans, plus move in, move out. We also service apartment hallways and laundry rooms. Our work is guaranteed, gift cards are available, and we even clean on weekends. There's no better way to say I love you than giving a tired mom a break from dishes and laundry. Are you a busy professional? Pamper yourself by taking vacuuming and dusting off your plate. Office manager, keep your business looking and feeling its very best. Call 616-264-1397 today for a spotless space and total peace of mind.
Here's a look at storm reports from Tuesday. There were 88 storm reports, 4 times more than the day before. 2 tornado reports. They were both insignificant. Really not much going on there. We had 60 severe hail reports, 26 severe wind reports, an 81 mile an hour wind gust at Las Vegas, New Mexico, and 3-inch diameter hail near McCook, Nebraska. Severe weather today, this Wednesday, will likely be occurring out in the Plain States once again. And if we take a look at the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, we've got a marginal area that's in northeast New Mexico, southeast Colorado. It just clips the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. That's the most likely place to find some hail or strong winds in a thunderstorm. And look at the chance of a thunderstorm in Southern California and the south half of Arizona. Isn't that kind of weird? They could get a shower today in San Diego or Los Angeles. Pretty unusual for summertime. And then we take a look at Thursday, and Thursday, no areas outlined for severe weather, but the same areas picking up a chance of a shower or storm out through the Midwest, the Southern Plains, the Southwest, and parts of Florida. Florida has really been inundated. There are parts of the Miami area that have had 10 inches of rain so far this month without hardly any severe weather down there, I would say. In terms of rainfall, the map shows a good amount of rain in the Plain States, a little bit in northern Wisconsin, but nothing here for lower Michigan the next 3 days. There's a pocket of heavy rain over eastern Virginia with showers possible all the way up to New York and Boston. Look at the rain in Florida once again from Key West up through the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, all the way up to around Daytona Beach, while northern Florida stays dry. And look at the rain out in the western United States, Southern California. There could be a shower in Phoenix or Las Vegas. And in any case, the clouds there should hold temperatures down just a bit. It'll still be hot. That's the nature of the desert, but kind of an unusual pattern. A lot of hurricanes and tropical storms off the coast of Mexico have been pumping moisture up there. And so the dew points have been higher, and that's been able to touch off some of those showers and storms there. All right, tropical update for you. Out in the Atlantic Ocean, we have Gabrielle forming. That's where the red X is. That's up to a 90% chance of becoming a tropical storm. It certainly looks like outside of maybe Bermuda that it's going to be really not affecting land areas. And as it turns and makes the curve, the next one will be forming where that yellow hatched area is. And that may not be for another week or so. But we're right at the peak of hurricane season here. Second and third weeks of September, and there's really not a whole lot going on. In the Pacific, we have Hurricane Mario, which went to a tropical storm, and now that circle is just a depression, and it will be dying out. The next storm will form where that red X is, and within a couple of days, we should have Tropical Storm Narda, N-A-R-D-A. That should also miss Mexico for the most part, and really kind of interesting. The hurricanes are being very nice this year and missing land areas. And then we go out to the tropical Pacific, and we have one tropical storm. The only thing I could find identifying it was 23W, and that will be crossing the island of Luzon in the Philippines. It is a low end to mid end tropical storm, so it's not a major hurricane by any means. And Philippines gets a lot of those; they're used to it. There's a depression following there, 90W, that we'll have to keep an eye on. By the way, the tropical storm there, which is over Luzon and the Philippines, will continue to move west and is probably going to come into Hong Kong in a couple of days as a minimal tropical storm or a strong tropical depression, which will produce a windy, rainy period from Friday into Saturday there, but really no real significant damage expected with that. All right, back to our weather here a little bit. Dry weather pattern continues through the rest of the week. Sunday is our next significant chance of rain, and even that's not a sure thing. It will stay mostly sunny with high temperatures here in the low to mid 80s, but 70s if you're going to be by Lake Michigan. So just a very pleasant pattern to be outdoors. Take a look at the forecast here for today. We're going to go for temperatures in the low to mid 80s, sunny skies. Isolated fog possible in the morning, mainly northeast of Grand Rapids. Temperatures dip into the upper 50s in the morning. Nights, of course, are longer now, gives temperatures a chance to cool a little bit overnight. Humidity 45% in the afternoon. Winds generally east, but may become variable near the lakeshore. Most of the day, just 5 miles an hour. High temperatures on the day today will be a little bit cooler near Lake Michigan. And if we take a look at some of the highs that are right along the lakeshore, South Haven, probably about 73, 74 in the afternoon. Once the lake breeze kicks in, Benton Harbor at 75. And off to the north, you find a lot of low 80s there. Up in the UP, a lot of 70s, even some low 80s showing up around Iron Mountain. And Copper Harbor there with a high of 68 should still be a real nice day. Sault Ste. Marie could reach 80 with an east wind that's not coming in off the lake. And then the outlook for the day on Thursday, about the same. Temperatures will be in the mid 80s during the afternoon and about 5 to 10 degrees cooler if you're going to be over by Lake Michigan. Thursday will be a bit cooler near Lake Michigan, near Lake Superior, with a northeast wind sending temperatures down to about 63. So Wednesday a little bit warmer than Thursday if you're along the Lake Superior shoreline. Okay, 5-day forecast, sunny, actually kind of partly cloudy on Saturday. About a 40% chance of a shower on Sunday. There will likely be a chance of showers on Monday as well, maybe a thunder shower in there. We're going through a long period here without hearing a clap of thunder in summertime. It's kind of unusual. Low temperatures at night, generally in the upper 50s. And the 8 to 14-day outlook calls for temperatures here to be on the warm side right through the end of September. This outlook goes from September 24 to 30. And you can see a little bit cooler relative to average in the western United States, but a warm pattern continuing east of the Rocky Mountains. And in terms of rainfall, we continue to check that. Rainfall will still be a little bit below average here in lower Michigan and throughout much of the east. It will be rainy in Seattle and Portland for that last week of September, and also along the Gulf. There'll be numerous showers and thunder showers there. Whenever we see above average rainfall along the south, we keep an eye out for any tropical activity that may be coming by. But I do not see any real major hurricanes coming our way here in the next 10 days or so. So that's certainly some good news. Well, Michelle is working at the airport. Let's see what she has for us today. Sounds like we have early stages of a tropical wave developing in the Atlantic. Models over the weekend were all overboard on development or lack of development. That is true. Will it be Tropical Storm Gabrielle? Yes, the one that we outlined there will be Gabrielle, and we're 90 to 95% sure of that it will get a name. When winds reach tropical storm status, then the system gets a name, and this one will be Gabrielle. The one that following it, I really don't know. It was interesting with the last little storm that came by. It got a slug of dry air and dust from the Sahara Desert and kind of fizzled. And meteorologists were kind of surprised at that did not develop at all. It was good news for people in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as they stay dry and sunny. But I think this next system coming in will be Gabrielle, and that will be soon. Within the next couple of days that will form. Thanks, Brian. Up next, we have a viewer question. What is super refraction in radar? Can it occur near solar farms? Well, let me back up just a second and talk about reflection versus refraction. Reflection is when light beams bend and when they hit a surface and then bounce off them. A good example of that is a mirror. And a mirror is very smooth because you want all the light rays to reflect what you're seeing at the same rate. Water can reflect off of water, and of course the water sometimes has ripples in it, and so that water kind of sloshes back and forth there, and the image kind of bounces around a little bit. So refraction is when light bends going from one medium to another. It can bend, let's say, in a swimming pool, or put a spoon in a glass of water. That's a good idea, and you can actually see the image of the spoon. It looks like it's bent or broken off or something like that. So what you're getting there is the light beams continuing through the medium, but bending or a little bit there. And we get refraction with radar signals too. We send out a signal from a radar, and as it leaves the radar, it travels in a straight line. So radar images are from higher above the ground, the farther away you get from the radar, because the Earth is curved. So you get the Earth here, and the Earth is curved. Radar sends out a signal in a straight line, and eventually goes up into space above where the storms are when it gets out far enough. That's why you have to have multiple radars. You can't have just one single radar for the entire United States. You have to have radars spaced at a proper distance so we can get all of that. Now, it's interesting when we talk about alternative energy like wind and solar that there's some interesting things that happen. One of the things that we've had happen near Milwaukee, or north of Milwaukee, there's a wind farm up there. And that wind farm, with all of its blades there, sends the radar signal bouncing back toward the radar. So even on a sunny day, there are echoes there. And the problem we have with that is that how can you tell that is an echo or not a tornado when we have a storm coming through? That can actually be a concern. When we have solar farms, what the solar panels can do is heat up the air that's near them, depending on how the solar farm or the solar array is delineated there and spread out. And what that can do is it can create a layer of air at a different temperature than the air around it. We talk about sometimes having an inversion. And normally, the atmosphere gets colder as you go up. If you ever are in an airplane, watch how the temperature gets colder as you take off, and the higher up you get, it gets pretty cold pretty fast. But sometimes when there's a sharp demarcation there, the radar beam can actually bounce off that temperature inversion, and it can actually be bent toward the ground to the point where some of that signal reflects back to the mirror, and you get an echo showing up on the radar that really isn't there. It's not really rain or snow, but it's actually the echo bouncing back. So it's something we have to keep an eye on. There's so many things going on when it comes to wind energy and solar energy, and this is Tech Week in Grand Rapids. Technology in general is absolutely amazing. Look at what we've had in terms of medical and transportation moves forward here just in the last 100 or 120 years or so. The average lifespan in the United States was 47 in 1900. We lost a lot of kids to diseases, but we've been able to reverse that life expectancy from 47 to 74. And I think women are up to 80 now. It's pretty amazing what we've been able to do. And I'm a good example of that. I'm 74, so interesting. But I'm just really excited about some of the new things that are coming up online and some of the improvements that we're going to make. And the energy the energy sector is one of them. So we'll see what goes on. There'll be many wonderful things that my kids and grandkids will see that I will probably never have a chance to see. But the world can look forward to that. There's a lot of good things happening. All right, on we go to the next one here. Bill, is there any explanation for our high number of record high temperatures that have accrued in the early 1900s to 1930s or 40s? Why don't we break more of those? Well, that's interesting, Tom. Very interesting question. The hottest temperature ever in Grand Rapids was 1936. We had 2 days in July that were 106 and 108. And we had, at the time, an entire week when the average high temperature was 103 in Grand Rapids. We had a string of 4 days in 1934 that were above 100 degrees. So we really had some warm days. Now, there's a number of different reasons for that. First of all, our low temperatures have also been warmer. We've been able to have more moisture in the air, and that raises the dew points. And as the dew points go up, that keeps us a little bit warmer at night. And that's certainly something we see sometimes in the winter. When Grand Rapids had 200 people here, or 200 years ago, there was no man-made effect on the weather. But now that man is here, we have buildings, we have asphalt and concrete, and we certainly changed the environment inside our houses. We have air conditioning and we have furnaces and whatnot. It's pretty amazing what we've been able to do. But there's a number of different reasons for that, and I'll just touch on one here, Tom. We grow a lot of corn and soybeans across the Midwest. Corn and soybeans, a lot of that is irrigated, where a lot of water is put out. Now, when solar energy comes down, the sun comes down and hits the ground, a couple things can happen from that. Number one, it can heat the ground, which in turn heats the air. And second of all, it can be used to evaporate water. It takes energy to evaporate water. What does it feel like when you get out of the shower? You feel cold, right? You get out of the shower, you want to put that towel on there. You get out of Lake Michigan, you want to put the towel around you to warm you up. Well, the reason is to evaporate the water on your skin. That takes heat energy, and that's being taken out of your body. And so that's why you get goosebumps when you get out of the lake on a cold and dry day. Of course, water evaporates faster when you have lower humidities and drier air right there. So it's interesting. I've had people ask me that, they go swimming in a swimming pool in Phoenix, Arizona, and the humidity is like 6%, and they're out of the sun, and they get out of the swimming pool, and the temperature is 95 degrees, and they get cold. How can that be? Well, there's a super evaporation going on your skin right there, and that's the reason. Well, anyhow, across the Midwest, a lot of corn and soybeans, and the corn and soybeans are irrigated, so there's a lot of water lying out there. So when the sun comes up, it's using some of its energy to evaporate water. So it's pretty difficult to get temperatures as warm as they were before we had that irrigation going on. Pretty interesting. And I should add too, a lot of times people blame the heat in the 1930s on the Dust Bowl. And yes, there was a Dust Bowl, but it's the tail wagging the horse here a little bit. The Dust Bowl was caused a lot by the heat and the drought, rather than the heat and the drought being caused by the dust. If you take a look at 1934, I think there's a Palmer index, a drought index that you can find on Google Images from 1934, and it shows the drought extending way into the Rockies all the way to almost to the Pacific Ocean. And there wouldn't have been plowed fields out there in Utah and western Colorado and places like that. So yeah, it's just harder to make a record high temperature. On the other hand, it's almost impossible now to reach a record low temperature in a place like Las Vegas, where it used to be a desert and cooled off at night, and now you have an entire city with the asphalt and the concrete that are retaining the heat from the day. So don't look for any record high temperatures to be set too soon in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, let's go on to the next question here, or whatever we have. September 17, 1787, the U.S. Constitution was signed. Of course, this came after the Declaration of Independence, which was 1776. And we've got a scene there at the signing of the Constitution of the United States by Howard Chandler Christie, and that was from 1940. And it was interesting. No air conditioning back then. That must have been warm back even in September. That's probably not I kept thinking of everybody meeting in July and for the Declaration of Independence, and that would have been would have been warm. A lot of our founding fathers were very interested in weather. George Washington's thermometer was one of his prized possessions, and he saved up, and I think it cost him like $35, which is a fortune back in those days. But he used to go around with it and check the temperature in each room of his house and whatnot. So that was interesting if you want to read up about that. All right, next slide we have here for you. This is on this date in 1849. This abolitionist made her first attempt at escaping slavery. She is quoted as saying, "I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasts. And when the time came for me to go, the Lord would let them take me." Well, that's interesting. That was an interesting period. Of course, this was before the Civil War, September 17th, 1849. All right, let's look at the answer. It will be Harriet Tubman, of course. And looks like she believes in the Second Amendment, doesn't she? That was a photo, not a drawing here, by Mary Fields, 1895. Yeah. That was interesting. If you want to look back at that, that's a fascinating part of history, to look at the slaves that were escaping and then coming north. I talked to a group of gals who were like a cover band for the Supremes, and their families had escaped slavery and gone up into Canada, where they settled and became farmers, and eventually pretty well-to-do farmers. And they said they used to practice in the barn with the cows, singing to the cows, and that's how they started doing the Supreme stuff. So that's very interesting. But we appreciate that picture there by Mary Fields, and thanks to Harriet Tubman and all those that ended that despicable practice here in the United States. All right, on we go to, let's see what's next. Dave Verhoeven, and I have been there before. That is Tequamanon Falls. I probably stood at the same place where that picture was taken on the overlook. There's the lower falls and the upper falls. I think these are the upper falls. And you can see that there's a fair amount of water coming over there. It's kind of brown colored. It picks up the tannin from the trees there. And this, of course, a fall picture. I don't think that's this year. I don't think there's quite that much color up there already, but maybe. I know that the color is a little bit farther along up there, but I would assume that was a prior year. Okay, let's go on to the next slide here. We have one from Matt Rogers for 8:15 p.m., White Lake, Whitehall, Michigan. And you can see the glow there toward the horizon, all the different colors blending in, and a little bit of a glow coming up. There's probably some cirrus clouds just beyond the horizon there, which is causing a little bit of variation of color there in the middle lower of the picture. So that's a very interesting picture. Calm winds, clear skies, pretty Michigan scene in late summer. And 8:15 would be about 15-20 minutes past sunset. This is John Doherty's picture, and we have here in flight, great picture, in-flight picture of a bumblebee. I'm assuming that's a bumblebee. Bumblebees tend to be the noisiest bee or insect like that, but they also tend to be one of the more docile species. So they'll let you, there's people that actually have petted these creatures before. I wouldn't try that, not me. But I've never been stung by a bumblebee, even though I've been pretty close to them. We have a sedum, which is right by our front door. And that this time of year will collect quite a bit of honeybees. Not so much that we don't like the wasps and the hornets and the yellow jackets. But bumblebees are okay, and they collect nectar and do a fine job. And we have one more from John Scully, and this is art he printed up for hanging up. Beautiful picture. Nice little walkway going down to the water there at Lake Michigan with some pretty clouds in the sky. We thank John and all of those people who send in pictures to us. We really appreciate it. For those of us that spend a fair amount of time inside, we get a chance to see what's going on, and especially here over by the lakeshore as well. So I think we have come to the end of our weather journey here for today. I want to thank you so much for staying on board here until the end. Enjoy the sunshine and warm air while we got it. Have a great day.